Right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Macro Lounge podcast. And of course, your co-host Chris Bold, joined by the stunningly in uniform today, I might add, Rachel Mead, all the way from Tauranga. How are you this morning, Rachel?
Good. I thought I'd show some solidarity for today's podcast so that our guest doesn't feel too outnumbered.
Yes, before we get to that part, I will admit, I have been outnumbered, outvoted, and I've just been kicked off the island. But that's okay, I can cope. Anyway, all right, so today's episode, we may surprise a few people. We've sort of officially crossed the Federation lines, or you could say I've crossed the Federation lines. And honestly, we figured, what could possibly go wrong? I'm already in enough trouble with everybody else, so I'm okay with this. But we thought...
Most athletes don't spend enough time thinking about what their options are. So we wanted to just have a chat across different federations and let athletes know what their options are.
Yeah. So today's guest is someone who's been part of New Zealand bodybuilding. She's going to hate me for saying this. New Zealand bodybuilding landscape for decades. I was going to say years, but we've got to be fair. She started competing back in 1989 through the IFBB of all places, and has competed in NABBA, INBA, went to the Natural Olympia, got a ProCard, I think 2017, and then in 2019, her and her husband Andy co-founded the ICN New Zealand.
Welcome to our amazing guest, Brenda.
So yes, welcome, Brenda. This is obviously a conversation that's been in the making for a little while. I know you're a little bit nervous about doing that, but as Valerie said, not Valerie, Rachel and Valerie both pointed out that, don't be nervous because, but we do think this is long overdue. There's some people are going to say, this conversation is long overdue, and some people are going to say, are we stirring the pot? But
as always,
because we need to acknowledge the obvious elephant in the room is that I'm very openly from the dark side of the sport. We won't name the acronym, but we'll just leave it at that. So welcome to the Macro Lounge, Brenda. I'm sure both Rachel and Valerie will monitor anything I say closely so I don't get into too much trouble. So anyway, Brenda, welcome to the Macro Lounge.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So you've been around the sport for quite some time. Like, I think you said that the first show you competed in was the IFBB. I think it was called the Windy City Classic at the time. It was Wellington in 1989, which interestingly enough was not much before my last show, which was also the Wellington Classic in 1993. So we have that in common. What do you remember about that first show in bodybuilding?
Well, there was only one federation, and that was the IFBB. And there was only one category for women too, and that was bodybuilding. It was quite... What do I remember? I remember it being held in like a sports arena, and it was frickin' freezing. I remember the two-show format. You go and you're judged, and then you come back and you do your routine, and you get your prizes at night, and so it had that format. And I just remember it being quite a small show. Yeah, and that's probably about the sum total of my memory because it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I didn't keep notes back. Fortunately, social media doesn't exist, so then we can't go back and go, oh yeah.
I'm outnumbered here today. Sorry,
what she's saying is she wasn't born in 1989. Thank you very much, Rachel.
I was not alive.
Crikey, that's...
Yep.
Makes me sound really old, but yeah. So it was quite a different landscape back then. It was sort of the IFBB. Then the next year, 1990, NABBA broke away. Jim and Marianne broke away from the IFBB and formed NABBA in New Zealand. So NABBA is a very well-established federation in the UK, and they brought it to New Zealand, and then I competed for NABBA for a number of years after that.
So was NABBA where you got your ProCard?
No, I got my ProCard in INBA.
INBA.
Yeah, and that was in my second stint. So I've had 2 goes at competing, one pre-children and one post-children, and the last time I competed was 2016 to 2018, and that's when I got my ProCard for INBA.
So you competed from like 89 to 99, took a few years off, and then from like 2016 to 2018, thereabouts. Yeah. What did returning to competition teach you about the sport compared to when you were first competing in the 80s and 90s?
Well, it's quite a different landscape because there are a lot more federations. So that there's WFF and INBA, and NABBA was still going, and IFBB. And I think maybe BFF may have started then, not quite sure. But so there was a lot more variety of federation available in New Zealand than there was when I was competing the first time round. And the whole kind of range of classes was a lot greater, obviously. You've got figure and bikini and sport model and a whole lot of different categories for both men and women from back in the day. And then the other thing, the bodybuilding figure. So the other thing I noticed was sort of the proliferation's not the right word, but the growth in coaching, individual coaching, that just wasn't around when I was competing, like the original times, I did a lot of it myself. I read a lot of magazines. I followed a lot of Corey Everson workouts from Muscle and Fitness.
Those things, for Rachel, if you're not aware, magazines, they're made of paper, they're glossy, and they've got pictures on them. You can carry them with you.
I was around in the days of dial-up, so I did not have easy internet access my entire life. Thank you very much.
Okay, just checking.
So I was still around for that. But no, did you find, so I'm always very interested in the progression of the sport. When you came back to do figure, was the size requirements quite similar to when you did bodybuilding? Yeah,
well, actually, I was never a great bodybuilder, but because I didn't have great amount of size, and that was one of the things. I remember asking one of the judges at my very first IFBB show, why did I come second and not first? And she said, because you've got no legs. And I was like, oh, okay.
You can't quite give that feedback these days. People will be like, oh my God, she was so mean to me.
She was pretty blunt. So I was never a big bodybuilder, but figure was quite different back then too. So yeah, I guess figure definitely has changed in the muscularity of figure. When we're not talking IFBB figure here, we're talking sort of figure with...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I actually fell into figure because I went to the Oceania Champs in Newcastle in Australia with NABBA as a bodybuilder, and I got there and there were no bodybuilders, and so one of the organisers said, why don't you just go and figure? And I'm like, well, I haven't got any heels. And so one of the ladies who was competing had a pair of heels, so I chucked them on and I went in the figure and I won it.
And how was that, chucking on heels and posing in heels for the first time on stage?
Yeah, about to say, no pressure. Quarter what?
Yeah. Luckily in my job, I had a sort of job where you had to dress semi-corporate, so I was used to wearing high heels, but I didn't really know how to do the posing. So Loretta Winiana, who was the one who gave me the shoes, was in the loos showing me how to do the posing and putting me through my paces. And it was a real shock to win. And so I just never went back to bodybuilding. I just stayed with figure.
So did competing in those different federations and obviously different classes, obviously we'll go a little bit further on later on about the ICN and creating that, but did competing in those different federations and those different classes and those different, if you like, shapes, did that sort of shape how you wanted ICN athletes to feel when they stepped on stage? That experience give you something to look back on and go,
Yeah, and that's probably one of the catalysts for starting ICN was that when I competed for the last time in 2018, we travelled all the way to America. And I came back thinking that it wasn't the experience that I had wanted it to be or thought it should be, because I was competing as a pro in that competition. So then I was looking around for something else, and that's when I came across ICN. So yeah, it did drive me to look for something else, the experience that I had.
I was going to say, it was 2019, I believe, that we brought ICN to New Zealand, according to my T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Which, to be fair, when getting said T-shirt, Rachel, we did actually have to clarify what the hell the 19 stood for, because we were like, it's 2025.
Yeah.
What's this 19?
Well, so there's definitely not just 19 athletes. It's more than that.
No. We were like, do the math. We're like, how do we cut 9? And so before, obviously, ICN, you've been a competitor, been a pro. You've been a backstage helper. You've done a medal presenter, judge, and I believe a group fitness instructor, which I mean, there's got to be videos out of that somewhere too. Do you think those less glamorous roles sort of gave you a better understanding of what athletes actually need, having done all that?
100%.
I was actually going to say, is being president less glamorous, or is being those other roles less? I mean, being in charge.
I think I'd rather be the expediter. That's much more fun. Screw me, the president.
I'd rather be the backstage marshal sometimes.
I was like, surely the medal presenter is the most glamorous role in that lot, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, actually, they have, yeah, they get
Have
all
you
the
seen
fun,
medal
don't they?
presenters at most bodybuilding shows? It's like shorts and it's like, especially the male ones. It's like the sponsored, the sponsor and the guy shows up from some high-end nutrition brand and he's got shorts, Crocs, and a stringer on. You're like, dude, this picture's going around the world. No,
Yeah.
medal presenting is not dramatic. Not that cool. Yes.
But having an insight into all the different roles, and particularly being a competitor, has really shaped how I run ICN.
So if you took away these fancy titles that we all throw around about, you've got president, founder, pro athlete, judge, promoter. What's the thing that has kept you connected to bodybuilding for this long?
Oh, people, easy.
Love the athletes.
Yeah, people that I've met, yeah, and the people that I am meeting.
Awesome.
One thing I've found through competing with ICN is I find that, you are amazing with just connecting with all the athletes. Like, everyone knows you. It's not like you're just some, like, person at the top that no one ever sees, but you make all the decisions. You're actually involved. You're in the thick of it. You're running around backstage sometimes. And we're like, let's find Brenda. So people know who you are. We know what you look like. So it's really cool that you're actually so actively involved and, like, just physically there for all the athletes. And I've said this about Chris a couple of times, but I realized actually yesterday that I can say the same thing about you and ICN. Is when I did my prep last year, I could be so relaxed because I was just like, just Chris got this. Anything that goes wrong, Chris got this. I don't need to worry. I just tell Chris and he sorts it out. And I actually realized it's the same thing with ICN. I was like, you know what? Like, it's very relaxed going into an ICN show because I know that if anything does go wrong, I can just be like, hey guys, help. And I know that it will be sorted.
Yeah,
so that's really nice.
That's the people that we've got in the organisation. So these people that you see backstage and that you see at registration sitting alongside me are people that I've met through bodybuilding, people I've known for years. Roger I've known since we were in our 80s and, both now in our 60s. It's the people that make it like that. Like, I know that I can say to them, I'm sitting on the panel today, you guys need to deal with whatever comes up. And I know they will. And if it's dire, I'll get a little note saying, help, we need some advice. But otherwise, they sort it. And then they tell me afterwards, oh, hey, by the way, this happened. And I'm like, okay.
I'm just envisioning like a little bat signal, like a little like laser light, like to signal you to come backstage.
Yeah.
Like someone's got this little flash and then you're sitting in the audience like, oh, I've been summoned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Might be the smoke coming out of the back screen. You go, do I need to go and look at that?
Yeah.
So you officially started ICN New Zealand in 2019. But from the questions that I asked you earlier, what sort of stands out most is that it didn't really start as a business idea. So as you mentioned earlier, it started from the dissatisfaction with your own athlete experience. And then obviously seeing the ICN, I think you said the all-female classic in Melbourne. That's kind of where you realised that competitions could feel different, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we made the trip to Melbourne to see the all-female classic and we just went, whoa, this is amazing. And it's what you see now that we've brought to New Zealand. So it was like the hype, the noise, the friendliness, the welcome you get from people, just everything turned on for the athletes, and they don't have to, like Rachel said, they don't have to stress or worry about things because things seem to go really well, go smoothly. And it was a show. It was a real show, not just a bodybuilding competition. It's a bodybuilding show. Really enjoyable.
So, I mean, a lot of athletes, they complain about federations and judging and shows and the experiences they had, but very few actually do something about it. What made you go from dissatisfaction to, right, we'll just do it ourselves?
I think it was going all the way to America, paying thousands of dollars and coming away with nothing.
Wasn't a good. It's like we had some athletes on the team go to Hong Kong last year, and it wasn't a good show experience for them either. So there's often people do pay all that money to go all that way, and then it's not a good experience. So yeah, it's not. So you didn't just like sit there with that, because I mean, again, we've got the team. They haven't started their own federations. You did something about it.
Yeah. I think I came home feeling like the athletics wasn't good. It was a lot of money to go there. There was no audience, like literally no audience. There was it was just a stage with some banners and And this was my pro show, I was the Natural Olympia pro show, and it was just like another bodybuilding show.
You would expect that to be big. Natural Olympia, it's an international event.
Yeah. And yeah, just came away thinking, it's got to be something better than this.
So not to get too personal, but the early days of ICN New Zealand kind of started off a bit rocky, hit by COVID.
Oh, okay.
She was like, did I do something wrong?
Yeah, I was like,
No. But
you were scaring her there, Chris.
I mean, obviously at that stage,
it did, yeah.
in your first year, you had something far bigger and more personally, which was the death of your son from a car accident in March 2020. And you said it would have been really easy for both you and Andy to just crawl into a hole and walk away. Considering COVID, then your son's tragedy, how did you keep going through that initial stage where you're trying to launch a new federation, you're dealing with all these global issues, and then you're dealing with a massive personal tragedy? How did you guys find the cojones, for lack of a better word, to not crawl into that hole and keep going and to build it to where it is now, 5-6 years later?
I think the lockdown was the key to that, because we were forced to do nothing. So we couldn't do anything. We couldn't plan a competition because we didn't know what was happening in the future. It meant that we could just be the three of us, so my daughter, Andy, and I, we could just be and support each other and just be in our grief and just not have to worry about the outside world, really. So that was it. Strangely enough, it was a blessing to a few days after his funeral go into lockdown. And then we came out of lockdown and we'd made all these decisions. Like, we decided we'd sell our business. We decided that we were going to give ICN a really good go. And we had a vision for ICN, and we had incredible support because, of course, we had to cancel a show and we had people registered already. And the support we got from those people was unbelievable. And so those two things, like the support from the ICN community, which had already started and was already forming, and also support from each other, is really how we did it. It was hard. It was really hard.
Yeah, without wanting to make this too heavy, but I think it really matters. Is like when people criticize federation leaders online, they often forget that there are actually humans behind that logo. And after what you and Andy and your daughter had to carry personally, how do you handle that public criticism?
Oh, yeah, I've had some doozies, as I said to you, but I'm not going to say them here. But I take them really personally. You'll ruin the persona that I don't swear.
Oh, you didn't swear. I what you said. They said. Yeah. Anyway, long story.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. So it does affect me really a lot, like really personally. I'll take it to heart because I want everybody to enjoy their ICN experience. And when I think or know that they don't, it hurts a little. I take it personally, and it's and I stew on it, and I can't help it. Like I say to myself, don't worry about it, forget about it. Look at all these people that love ICN and all these people that enjoy ICN, and don't worry about those ones. Then that sort of little voice creeps back into my head, but he called you and the other guy said, and so-and-so didn't enjoy their show. And it's just like, so I've got to I'm working on that, on putting all that out of my head, and I'm getting better at it.
I will say, Brenda, if anyone ever does say anything to you, first question to ask yourself is, have they ever done another federation show? Because if they haven't, they definitely don't know what it's like doing other shows, because ICN shows they're so well run.
Thank you.
I'm just sitting here going, say nothing, Christopher. Say nothing. You'll get yourself in trouble.
No, I just remember my first ICN show, I think, what was it, Hawke's Bay? And I just remember texting Chris, I was like, oh my God, there's I don't have to be there until 12 o'clock. And there is an athlete list on the wall so I can see what we're up to and who's in my class. And
I think my response might have been something along yeah, bullshit. You're telling me she's taking photos? No, seriously, look.
Yeah, he didn't believe me, actually. So, yeah, I just remember being like, oh, my God. So, yeah, no, the stuff that you do is very much appreciated. And, yeah, first question to ask for yourself is, have they done another federation show? If they have not, yeah, that's definitely irrelevant at that point. Relevant opinion.
One of the things that you mentioned in some of the questions we asked you earlier, Brenda, is you said the achievement you're most proud of is the community that has grown around ICN. So you said not the trophies, not the titles, but the community. Why does that actually matter so much to you? Not necessarily as the president or founder, but as an individual. Why is that so critical?
I've always had a role done a job all my working life where I've actually helped people and worked with people. I'm a people person, and I like to be of value and of use to people, I guess. Yeah, that's a really hard question. Why do I like
You're in trouble then,
community
because
so
I got like 15 pages of them.
Yeah, I think so. Just going back to what I was saying before I needed to blow my nose. I've always had a job where I have worked with people and helped people in some form. And friendship and community is really an important part of my life. And I think it's not just within ICN that I have this thing about community and friendship, and it's right across my life.
Because I think that goes back to one of the other things you talked about was the ICN being a whānau, being strong enough to continue when you and Andy eventually retire. So don't hurry up and do that, okay? Is that the real legacy for you, is like what you guys are building?
Yeah. I mean, eventually we're going to be too old to do it. Rapidly coming.
No, she's going to live forever.
Eventually we're going to want to pass the mantle on to somebody, and I'd love to see it continue. I'd love to be able to go into along to the Great Lakes Classic, in 5 or 6 or 10 years' time, and see it still going really strong.
Because you now got 4 shows a year that you run in New Zealand, and around somewhere in the 350 plus athletes annually, which you've gone from being the upstart almost to being the rebel to now being the alternative to the federation that shall not be named. I'm going to get killed. At what point did you realise that ICN had actually become bigger than just you and Andy?
Rob, to be honest, I guess when the other federation that shall not be named started putting shows on the same day as our ones, in an attempt to disrupt our shows, I'm assuming.
Sometimes it is like a little petty pride when people start to kind of come back at you at things. You're just like,
yeah, I think I thought, well, we're being noticed now.
Yeah,
because I always used to think I'm just going to fly under the radar. And hopefully, not stir the pot.
Fun in that? I tried that for 14 years. Look where that
get on our level, Brenda.
Yeah.
And then
the levels of can't.
So
she doesn't use that language.
I used to think, oh yeah, we'll just keep quiet stay in our little corner over here. And then it wasn't until we started noticing that there was that sort of imposed competition that we thought, okay, maybe we're ruffling some feathers.
You did.
And then the other turning point, and you might want to, I don't know if you keep this in or not, but the other turning point was when I saw you in the audience, Chris. I was like, what the?
Oddly enough, I do bring that is in my notes to bring it up.
Yeah, Chris came in with his hoodie, I'm hiding here.
It didn't work.
No. I was like, is he spying or what?
Yes, I remember you saying to me, it's just like, there's people coming up to you, do you know who's sitting in the audience? And you were like, no. I'm just sitting there with my hoodie up going, I'm not here. Go, Rachel. Go, Rachel. Yeah, that got me in trouble.
That was hilarious, though, because, Chris was like, I must hide from everyone. And everyone's like, oh, my God, the IFBB guy is here.
Yeah.
Yep. There was a lot of sideways glances and whispers, and I'm like going, man, I've never been this popular in my life.
Hey, you're famous.
I thought it was only the back of my head that was famous, but that was quite touching.
Yeah, that was.
I personally think probably one of the biggest moments for ICN where I started to notice was I've talked to Rachel about it before. It's frequently, if you don't follow something, you don't really know what's going on. It's like, I don't know, I stopped watching Game of Thrones after the first season because I was just like, and then it wasn't until 6 years, it's still going and it's like the most popular, program. Well, I went to that show in ICN to support, in Hawke's Bay to support Rachel, and I will fully admit I went in there thinking, it's going to be like 20 athletes, it's going to be nobody here, why am I wasting my time? Because that's what I knew, right? That's the line that I was told. And I walked in, I was like, what the? I was like, hang on, this place is packed. There's 120 athletes. What the hell is going on? And I sat there very quietly going,
oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I did actually have to report back on that one, and that didn't go down too well. But I think probably one of the biggest times when I think ICN went from being okay, well, just lumped in with the other alphabets of federations.
Yeah.
And I think probably the time that it got real would be around about when the NZ brought in their natural competitions. Because up until then, it was never discussed. And I think that was when you probably could have stood up and gone, ha, got your attention, didn't we? You know, so kudos to you for making them make some changes. So anyway, that's probably enough said about them not getting in trouble.
Don't worry, Brenda, you didn't say any of that. It was Chris, so don't worry.
Yep.
It was Chris that said all of it. You cannot be, what's the word? Not implied.
It's not incriminating. It's
Incriminated, that's the word.
Implicated, yeah.
Implicated,
Yeah,
that's
implicated. I'm going to go with guilt by association. So the reality is, like, there's a lot of things that people don't see. Like, your role includes, as we talked about the other day, social media, newsletters, venue sourcing, which I know is a freaking nightmare. Judges, sponsoring, ticketing, trophies, athlete communication, drug testing, international coordination. Sounds a lot less like running a federation and more like doing 12 really badly paid jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely it is the case become almost a full-time job, and that's why I was working 24 hours a week up until last year, and I was working 7 days a week. I'd come home from my day job and I'd sit in front of the computer, social media, follow, feedback, planning, all that kind of stuff. And then I'd get up the next day, go back to work and do the same thing again. Then weekends was just all ICN. And I had nothing, I was getting very little downtime. And so we made the decision that I would give up work, which was really hard because I love my job. I was a social worker for people with disabilities. I look for jobs for people and help people find work, and I love that, and I really miss it. And so it was a very hard decision to make.
Somebody asked me the other day, what did Brenda used to do? And I was like, I don't know. I said, I've got her down as a teacher. She strikes me as a teacher.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, same environment.
It's the bonus of being the boss lady is that you stop working your 9 till 5 so you can work your own 36 hours a day.
Yeah.
Or do like Rachel and I and have 3 different entities going all at the same time and go, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in that job of doing all those millions of things, what's the biggest thing that I guess the athletes don't see that you wish they kind of knew that is like a big part of the behind the scenes?
I guess how hard it is to please everybody.
Never please everybody.
No, you
Good
can
luck.
But if I have a friend again met through bodybuilding who says you can't please everybody, Brenda. You're not chocolate cake.
Some people don't even like chocolate.
I'm not one
that's
of them.
true.
I quite like chocolate cakes. So
Maybe it was
just
just cake. Maybe it was just cake. But anyway,
That's true.
So it's the I don't want to say stress, but there is a lot of pressure on pleasing everybody. And when I say that, I mean finding a venue that people want to come to, that isn't too out of the way, that's accessible, that's, has enough room and all that kind of stuff. And then planning a competition and setting, like even things like setting the timetable and knowing that I'm going to piss off the support models because they're last, or I'm going to piss off the bikini girls because they're last, or, and it's that kind of juggling of things so that everybody feels like I've listened to them and that I've taken into account their feelings or their thoughts and stuff like that. Because I do try to not appease everybody, but I want to make things as easy and accessible to people as possible. And
You're always
really
getting
hard.
the athletes who say, well, what time am I going to be on stage so I can let my family know? You're like, how long's a piece of string? You're going to be around about,
Yeah. So that's one of the hardest, the planning, I guess, the planning parts, logistics.
There's a lot of little things that go in there that people don't see behind the scenes.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It is the assumption that this stuff just happens is amazing, and the work that you and Andy and the team do, and also, to be fair, the work that Mo and Joanna do for the NZ IFBB. Nobody sees the amount of crap that you have to go through just to pull these shows off. So athletes often assume that federations or you as a promoter are making a truckload of cash doing this. You hinted this is one of the biggest misconceptions. So just to be direct about it, are federations making money that athletes think they are?
No.
You guys aren't. I mean, I know you went to Dubai and Bali last year, so you guys must be rolling in it.
No.
Okay.
We wish. So one of the reasons that we wanted to do ICN was to take teams away overseas and And I guess that stems back to that overseas experience that I had back in Vegas a couple of years, 20 odd years ago, 10 years ago.
We don't.
That long ago. And so we wanted to take teams away, and that's, I guess there's a bit of a kickback for us as promoters, I guess. We use ICN funding to travel overseas and support the team. But apart from that, every other cent goes back into the next year. So if you take medals, for example, we've had to buy new medals this year. And
did you spell them right this time?
Yes. Triple checked. And it's thousands, literally thousands of dollars. And venues are thousands of dollars. One of the things about ICN is that we are expected as promoters to get quality venues. So ICN worldwide has standards that we have to adhere to, and one of them is the venue that we choose. And so unfortunately those venues are great, but man, are they expensive. So yeah.
And something probably worth noting is that you also do have to listen to the ICN worldwide. So some things actually aren't necessarily your decision. Some things are actually coming from the guys way up there that are not in the country. So also something I think that it's worth the athletes knowing that there is also certain things that you can't actually change even if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, how financially difficult is bodybuilding in New Zealand?
I think if you're doing well, if you can run your federation without the need for a financial sponsorship, I think you do okay. So if you price it right, if you attract the right number of competitors, if you make it a enjoyable experience for the audience, then you'll pack the house out. And those are the things that bring in the dollars that allow you to then up your game for the next time. So
that's another funny thing is that when you earn more money, you don't necessarily keep said more money. You actually end up just upgrading yourself.
Yeah, spending more.
Yeah.
And Rachel and I have said this time and time again, is that if you don't go to the sport, go to the shows, the promoters can't really afford to put on the shows. It's not just the entry fees from the athletes. It's, it's the paying for being able to see it, which is, I know, is frequently the argument behind not live streaming shows, because the argument can be, well, if we live stream it, people don't come. I look at live streaming as more of a marketing exercise, but we can discuss that at a later date. You've also said in the past that one of your biggest responsibilities is making sure every athlete who pays to compete has the best experience possible. So and I know that's one of the reasons Rachel did her first show in ICN, and then she literally said to me, I'm not doing IFBB again. And I was like, all right, what does a good athlete experience actually look like to you? What is it you're hoping that they experience and they get out of doing the ICN show?
So I think from the minute they contact me and say, I want to do a show, that they get communication back. That's the number one. That the registration process is easy. That's okay. I think it does have its flaws, but it's an international thing. It's a lot better now that you can do it on your phone. You used to have to use a computer. It was a bit of a nightmare, but anyway, I digress. So communication of ease of entry, variety of classes to enter. So not restricted to one division, for example. You can spread your wings and go into several divisions if you want to, and different classes are catered for. Often I'll get a 70-year-old man, for example, say to me, do you have 70 plus bodybuilding? And they don't traditionally on the portal. So I just say, yep, we sure do. And I add it.
I will be about that age before I ever get my butt back on stage, I can tell you right now.
Yeah. And then it's about the greeting that they get when they arrive to register on the Friday. It's about having the tanning and the hair and makeup and everything there on site for them. They don't have to go off site for any of that. The way they're treated by their backstage marshals, the way that the space that they have to prepare themselves in, and then the actual show experience or being on stage, that they actually feel like they have time to show their physique off, and that they feel like the judges are actually looking at them. Yeah.
And I can say, as an athlete, all of the above. It happens.
Phew.
No, definitely. there is, good amount of time on stage. Like, you don't get rushed, which is really nice. Backstage, you've got the expediters coming back. They give you warnings before you need to even go and get glazed. And then the tanners being on site is amazing because, you don't have to go anywhere else. You're not trying to drive between venues, which is it's a mess if it's raining. Like, obviously it doesn't always rain, but if it is. So, I can say all of the above is checked off the checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That and from my team members that have done multiple different federations, that's constantly the feedback I've received, is the difference between ICN and some other federations is that athlete experience and how they're made to feel. They're made to feel welcome is probably one of the most important things. And I can say personally, you guys have done, other than the first day when everybody just looked at me and went, "What the?"
Chris thought he was going to get kicked out.
Yeah, I did. Actually
no!
Kicked out. The looks I was getting. But other than that,
Never.
You guys have made me feel incredibly welcome, and you didn't have to, so which was cool. All right, let's get into probably the biggest question around natural bodybuilding, and honestly the things that skeptics bring up a lot constantly. How natural is natural bodybuilding really?
Yeah, well, that's a biggie. I guess you can only ever... It's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because we do rely on people's integrity.
There's an honesty factor to it, really, isn't there?
Yeah, and if you're not natural and you're going in a natural federation, you're a douche, basically.
What did we say, Rachel?
Don't be a dick.
Oh, don't be a dick. Yes, don't be a dick. Yeah. So I guess we can't test everybody. We can't catch everybody. No matter how much we try. We have caught people, but I'm sure there are people that have competed for us that we haven't caught. And that will continue to be the case. So I like to think that it's natural. So, for example, if we're suspicious of somebody at a show, we've made the decision now to this year not to invest as much money in testing on show day and to invest more in testing randomly. Between shows.
Random?
So random testing. So we will kind of random as far as a person's concerned.
You're
so
jacked.
if we
Randomly, I'm questioning your honesty on this one.
so we'll look at people and go, oh, okay, and then we will arrange to test them, but they have to be a premium member of federations for us to do that, and that is a WADA requirement. That if you are going to test somebody and use the WADA standards for testing, then you have to have them as a federation member. You can't just rock up to someone and say, "I'm going to test you," because they said they're going to go on ICN. They have to actually be an ICN member.
Registered, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you'd find that was the same with any federation.
Yeah,
that was using WADA.
Yeah, no. I had this conversation a little bit with OBC, but it's kind of like, it's funny because any other sport, like, you actually don't really have a lot of drug testing, especially at the amateur level. Like, used to be a competitive swimmer, never got drug tested once. I think I know one or two people that got drug tested, and that's because they were breaking New Zealand records and going to, like, world champs. So most other sports, it's quite interesting because you don't expect drug testing, because it's like, unless you're actually at international world champs, you don't expect drug testing in most sports. They're just assumed to be natural. So bodybuilding's kind of an interesting one.
It's the threat of drug testing. And I know from whatever
Yeah.
high performance sports is calling themselves now, or Drug Free Sports New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's, we can test you and we might test you.
But we probably won't.
But we could, and if we do, you better be prepared to pass.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you ever looked at it for ICN, Brenda, but what was Drug Free Sports New Zealand, I think it's like $1,000 a test.
It is. Yeah, we did look at it.
And then they'll even say, look, we probably won't show up to any of your shows, but you can put the banner up saying that we're going to come. And you're like, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, we did look into it when we first started. We thought, oh, that's going to be the way to go, And then it was $1,000 a test back then, and it was plus accommodation, plus travel.
You're like, okay, there's got to be another way. So one thing athletes often misunderstand, and we were talking about this just the other day actually, they often misunderstand eligibility. Does ICN require athletes to be lifetime natural, or is there a period of time where someone who has previously used PEDs can eventually become eligible again?
Yes, the international standard is for ICN is 5 years free from performance-enhancing drugs.
So after 5 years, they're good to go.
Yeah. that doesn't sit well with me. But then, like Rachel said, this is the
is what it is.
The overarching guidelines is 5 years. That could change. I know we're having a summit in Bali where all the international presidents are going to be there, and Wayne McDonald is the international president, and he's looking at the drug testing, all the drug testing procedures and stuff for ICN. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So it could increase. I mean, I'd love that. I'd love that to increase.
So do different federations define natural differently?
Yeah. I know WMBF is 10 years drug-free. I did notice that the INBA is, how do they put it? Free from performance adhering to the WADA principles at all times.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting because I don't actually know what that means. At all times, like, does that mean 10 years
forever
ago, or does it mean yesterday, today, tomorrow?
So you mentioned one of the biggest challenges is athletes who use PEDs who cycle off and still compete naturally. So do you believe there are athletes in natural bodybuilding who knowingly cheat the system? She's like, crap. You don't have to name names.
I don't know. I don't. I would say I don't know anyone.
So we're saying in general natural bodybuilding.
In general?
Doesn't have to be. Yeah, just all through natural bodybuilding. It could be any natural federation.
I think so. I think people are always trying to push the boundaries. Look at them go to the Olympics and still get caught.
Yeah, it's like, you knew you were going to be tested, you moron.
I think, people do try to get away with stuff. But we have a really cool function on the portal where you can dob somebody
can report,
in, basically. Yes. And we've caught people that way. Just takes you to fall out with your gym bro and they go, actually, I'm going to tell ICN that you've been taking stuff. And, we've caught people that way.
Oh, awesome. No, I do quite like that system because, if you find out some information, you are able to actually report it, and it's not just like you're sitting there like, I know that they're a cheat. So it is a really good system.
It's anonymous too. Yeah, so we don't know who's making that report, but we do investigate, obviously, and have discussions with the people that are being reported, and lo and behold.
So something else that I just want to plug in there is also one thing that's I think is good is that ICN actually doesn't really reward a enhanced look anyway. So a lot of the time, if an enhanced person was actually to show up to an ICN show, that might not be rewarded anyway because that's not the look that ICN is going for. So the standards and the criteria is tailored towards a natural look.
This is actually in the judging manual to mark people down if they are showing signs of PED use, particularly gynecomastia, bitch tips.
For people who are trying to Google, what, guy or what? Yeah, if you look like you need to wear a sports bra, you've got a problem, and you shouldn't be competing in a natural federation. I think competitors assume drug testing is either perfect or pointless. Yeah. But is part of your goal actually deterrence and protecting the culture as opposed to not just catching every offender?
Yes, definitely. It's also about integrity. You're a natural federation. You've got it to be seen to be testing, I think, and you've got to be doing it, for want of a better word, right. So there are certain requirements if you're testing under the WADA guidelines that you need to do. So if your federation is testing you and they're giving you a peapot and saying, go home with that and come back with it, that's not integrity. That's just bullshit, basically.
Yeah, when I actually did my test, the person who was with me they did not even touch the cup at all. So I had to do everything. So yeah, they did not touch anything. I packaged everything. I sealed it up. They didn't touch it at all. So it was very, very professional. And yeah, I really appreciated that because I have seen cases where they do get given the cup and it's like, bye, come give it back to me later.
I mean, I guess this answers my next question is, do you think all natural federations globally operate to the same ethical standard?
No, I don't.
I'd answer that.
Yeah. Like if your federation is not getting you to pee into and putting it into two pots and getting you to handle it yourself and getting you to write your paperwork yourself, then they're not following WADA guidelines. So
that's technically incorrect because it's not the guideline.
No, because you've got to have two samples to send away to test. And the reason for that is because if sample A comes back positive, the person whose sample it is has the right to then say, I want my sample B tested because I don't believe that's incorrect, that something's gone wrong with the test, I want my B sample tested. So if you don't have a B sample, you can't do that. And that's potentially not fair on the athlete because they have to have that right.
Yep, so if something actually does go wrong with the test, like, it could be a genuine mistake.
Could be, yeah. It could be, but it's never
Yeah, usually
Very
not,
seldom.
but it's...
Yeah,
But it's
very
like-
seldom has it been.
But it's
No, but it's
not
part
shady.
of the process.
Yeah.
No,
it
it's
stops
part of
things
the
being
process.
shady, because otherwise, things can be tampered with. Like, it just takes out any shadiness and it makes it world standard.
Yeah.
Do you think social media has blurred the line between what's realistically achievable naturally and what isn't?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's blurred the line between what's achievable for bodybuilding athletes, whether they're natural or not, because you can edit photos. You can, we were all doing it a couple of weeks back or a week or so back, put me.
Oh, the chat GPT,
Make me a
like 10
model on the red
kgs of
carpet
muscle or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and 10 kgs of muscle, yeah. So
The Met Gala or whatever it's called.
yeah, the Met Gala, yeah. So you can manipulate your photos, and people will only ever post the ones where they look really, really good.
Which is why I never post any pictures, because I look like...
Yeah, so I think it can definitely.
So whose responsibility is it ultimately to protect natural bodybuilding? Is it the federation, the athletes, the coaches, or is it everyone?
Everyone, because everyone. And I do get a little, my knickers in a twist when the finger's always pointed at the federation, because it's not just our responsibility; it's everyone's responsibility. It's on the athlete to be honest and have integrity. It's on the coach to also be honest and have integrity, and it's on the federation to be seen to be testing and to be seen to be doing everything they can to keep the sport natural. So it's a team effort.
To people who think that it's purely the federation, do you want to pay $1,000 entry fees for your drug test?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that would be the only way around it, would be to charge athletes $1,000 for a drug test and then test everyone. But that would be very, very expensive. So most athletes would not be keen on that.
It would be horrendous, because I could tell you, like, we send our wee samples over to America, to Utah, to a lab that's approved by WADA. And it costs me $500 to send 3 kg of wee.
It's ridiculous, the shipping fees.
Just imagine the customs declaration form.
Yeah.
Contents, urine. The contents, the customs officer, what the
It's called a non-something.
Non-something biological sample or something.
Yeah, non-infectious human sample or something like that. I can't remember.
And we say the big rubber gloves come on and the customs guy's like, everything. So when somebody fails a drug test, because it happens, or is caught cheating, does that feel personal to you if they're an ICN athlete?
Oh, it feels, it does. It feels cringy too. It's like, why did you do that? And it is sad. I get quite sad, because what it means when we have had it happen is that the people that should have won don't get their moment, and we can't give that back to them. They don't get their moment to get their overall trophy or their, all the prizes, because they leave with the prizes and they don't give those back, obviously.
Yeah, so, very seldom is that.
Yeah, and it's just a yuck feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what people outside of, say, federation leadership often underestimate is that, natural bodybuilding isn't just a business model. Like, we've spoken with Sully Sullivan from the OCB before. It's an ethical position, and protecting that probably comes with a lot more pressure than athletes realize. And I think that's one of the reasons that the IFBB Federation, the old amateur IFBB, for decades they were pushing the agenda to be an Olympic sport. And that pressure and the realization that, is natural bodybuilding ever going to be 100% natural? Would you agree that it's always going to be that grey area where people, as I said, unless you're doing randomized drug testing off season, is it ever going to be in that area where you can put a sport like bodybuilding into something like the Olympics, even if you're doing WADA testing?
Well,
Again, Chris, to be fair, most sports, even that are in the Olympics, are still not natural. So
no, but I think I think I don't know if natural bodybuilding could ever be accepted in the Olympics because of the, I think in a lot of that has got to do with perception of people about bodybuilding in general, not just, not natural bodybuilding, but bodybuilding is they always take drugs. Everyone takes drugs in bodybuilding. So you've got to convince a whole lot of people that natural bodybuilding is actually natural. I think you've got a hard road ahead of you, and I know the INBA have been trying for many, many years to get bodybuilding in the Olympics, and I don't know if they're any closer than they were when I last competed for them, but it wasn't going to happen. And
I know it's something that the IFBB Federation, amateur federation, is no longer pursuing because they were basically told not a chance in hell.
Yeah, and I think maybe too is it's so subjective that it's not like a first across the line thing. It's an opinion thing. So I don't know if it fits quite with.
I've always said though there could so again I know that you don't control this because this is like a bigger picture thing. But like I've always said that because like coming from a teaching background, I feel like there should be like a grid, like a proper marking criteria, like you get in an assessment, where there's like a hierarchy and then there's like different points of where you're at so you can actually be properly like almost assessed. I know it would take longer, but it's almost like, because like gymnastics is a similar thing, right? That's still kind of subjective at the end of the day. So I mean, again,
there was actually a federation that did do that in the mid 2000s. Dorian Yates was behind it. There were a couple other big names in the US were behind it, and it was measurement based. And so they came up with what they said was the ideal, and then it was mathematically who was the closest to it. So there were measurements done, there were caliper measurements done, there were, do they fit into the silhouette? There was also a power to weight ratio thing done, like, how many leg extensions could you do and all this sort of stuff. It actually became a TV show.
Oh.
Didn't last very long. It's like when they started drug testing the pros in the IFBB, and everybody went, well, they look like crap. That didn't last very long. So, all right. So let's get to the part of bodybuilding that everyone pretends doesn't exist while constantly talking about it behind the scenes. And that is federation politics. Because why do bodybuilding federations... She's like, he said he wasn't going to do that. Why do bodybuilding federations struggle so much to coexist peacefully?
I think because it's such a small market. And New Zealand is one of the reasons. And I know... It's like that a bit in Australia too. There's a lot of rivalry between the different feds over there because, especially the natural federations, because it is a limited market. And I think you get a bit patch protective, I guess. And, another new federation comes along and people like it and they go and compete in that federation and it's like, and... So I think it's to do with the number of athletes that are available to a federation. So I guess that's where the competition and the rivalry comes in, because you need the competitors to run shows. So
do you think I don't even know if politics is the right word. I mean, frequently I found the politics side of it is less from the officials and more from the athletes themselves. Like, if you compete for X federation, you're not a real bodybuilder. If you're not competing for Y federation, then, you're not good enough. Especially in New Zealand. I judged in the US for 10 years and I didn't really see that. There were multiple federations there, but here it's just athletes are brutal. I mean, do you think that politics, whether it's federation within the federations themselves, which there is some driven by, federation leaders. I mean, I heard some comments from other federations as well. Do you think that hurts the athletes?
It could put some people off from competing for a federation for sure. If there's that, you mentioned before about the perception you had about us of being, you come in, there'd be 20 athletes and no audience, and you walked in and you saw what it was like.
You should have seen the look on my face.
Told that, then they'll believe it, unless they experience it for themselves. And so, I think it does hurt. It does hurt.
I think one of the biggest things on the athlete side, because obviously come from the athlete side, is when you're told that you won't place well because you've competed for another federation. Because that's often like a rumor or a thing that goes around with the athletes, that you must stick to your one federation, otherwise like they don't really want you because you're not loyal. So I think that's often a misconception that goes around, because I mean, Brenda, I assume I know actually I've seen a message from you, Brenda, saying that, so somebody said they were competing for another federation, you're like, yeah, go have fun, but please come back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would never stop somebody going to another federation. Well, I couldn't anyway, but I would never say you are not to go there, otherwise you never compete with us again. I don't do that. You know, we've had guys in there. There's a young man in our Bali group chat, and he competed for IFBB last weekend and on the weekend a couple of weekends ago.
Cleaned up.
And you know, we did really well, and we were all everybody in the chat was, you know, good luck and go hard, and then when he won, congratulations, and that's the way it should be, because the athlete is their own person, and we don't own them, and they can do whatever they like with their dollars and their physique.
But ideally, we want them to come back.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. If a pro athlete goes off and does another federation, that does sting a little. But I would never say to the athlete, "That's it, don't come back." I'd never say that.
You're not excluded from the club. You haven't been exiled.
In fact, I'd say go hard and have fun, and we'll see you back.
Do you think federations sometimes become a little too emotionally attached to their athletes? As in, that's my athlete?
Well, there's the problem there. That's my athlete. They're not our athletes, you know? That statement should never be said. Like, they're not our athletes. Yeah.
Excellent. So, it's true. They're not. They can compete wherever they want.
No, they're
that's
not.
One of the
That's
and that's
right.
something that you have a lot in common with, say, Sully Sullivan from the OCB, as he said, go compete somewhere else. We want you to come back and say, or go to these shows and say, man, this sucks. I competed at ICN 2 weeks ago, and they did this, they did that, they did the other thing, they were on time, they did all this sort of stuff, and then their athletes go, really? That's all right. So you mentioned previously online criticism. Federations being called trash, judges being abused, athletes being bullied. Has social media made those federal politics worse, you think?
Yeah, I think it's given people that anonymous or semi-anonymous platform to make comments that otherwise they probably wouldn't. I think it's given people the ability to act without really thinking about the consequences.
I think there's that confusion between rivalry and hostility. It's, it doesn't have to be nasty. You can have a rivalry. You don't have to be nasty about it.
No, you don't. You don't have to get on people's, posts and call them names and make, and stuff. Like I've seen some horrendous comments on people's competition posts, like about their physique, about their readiness for the competition. And it's from someone who didn't know the full story. This person had done a transformation.
I know the one you're talking about.
And the comments were horrendous.
It was really bad.
It was
and
really
generally,
bad.
you look at half of the people who make those comments, it's like they're not even sure half of them know what the inside of a gym looks like anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I don't think people think about when they say these things. Like there was that one that went round after our nationals in 2024. There was a video made that made the rounds of a lot of IFBB people, and it was sent to me it was about me, and it was sent to me by an IFBB coach who promised I'd never say who he was, so I won't. But he was sent it 4 times.
It wasn't me.
He was sent it 4 times. He said, this is the 4th time I've got this. I had to show you because I hadn't seen it. And it was horrendous. And it's that kind of abuse that isn't necessary. And it's one of the ugly sides of bodybuilding.
And I think, unfortunately, it's an ugly side of New Zealand bodybuilding.
Right.
I don't know if it's a tall poppy syndrome or what it is, but the tribal
I think
hostility.
Kiwis, it's a Kiwi thing, I think. Like, Kiwis tend to have the small circle and no one is allowed in or out of that circle. It stays. It has to be.
There are a bunch of very small ponds in a very small pond, but some of that hostility is just... I've seen it aimed. Some of the stuff that's been going on around since 2024 is... And I know who it's coming from. I know where it's coming from, and I know why it's coming from there. And I can't change it, and I'm not going to change it because honestly, if anybody believes that shit, that's a them problem, not a me problem. Which actually brings me to my next question, because I know I'm going to ask this directly because people who are listening and watching this will already be thinking it. as someone who's very publicly been associated with the other federation for many, many years, previously, and you mentioned it earlier, you told me about the internal reaction when I showed up at my first ICN show to support the lovely Rachel. Well, I think it was that Hawke's Bay 2024?
Yes,
I think something along the lines of, holy shit, so do you know who's sitting in the audience? Which I'm flattered about because they thought it was me. Do you think people actually expected us to dislike each other?
Oh, no, I don't know. No, that never even occurred to me. Never occurred to me. I did think about your motives. I was
You were very cautious the first couple of times we interacted, yes, I will admit.
When I noticed you started following us, and I think I removed you as a follower.
Oh,
What's going on here? But then Rachel, then I got to know Rachel. And because Rachel rocked up to one of our shows and she said, oh, I've got some girls backstage with bikinis. Can I go and help them out? And I was like, okay. And, she seems really nice, I thought to myself. And and that was sort of my first kind of connection with you. Yeah, but I was suspicious. I was like, what's he doing here?
He's spying on us.
But that soon went away because, you came and spoke to me, and we've had several, like many discussions since then, and yeah.
That's right. You wouldn't be the first person to have a initial bad impression of Chris. I used to think he was absolutely terrifying. I used to think he was really, really scary, and that he was just super grumpy.
Yeah. I just remember him from.
Sorry, I brought this up now.
I was terrified when he first messaged me because, to get me helping out with all the bikinis for the team, because that was before he started coaching me. I was terrified because he just messaged me and said hey, can we have a video call and have a chat about bikinis? And I was like, what have I done?
I think that a lot of athletes are surprised when people across federations actually get along perfectly fine in real life. It's like the expectation is, and this has been drummed into me, the expectation is, I should never talk to anybody from any other federation. I should never entertain coaching an athlete from another federation. And I have had this discussion numerous times, and it's like, this is a very, very small world. It's a very, very small competitive world. And really, we've all got our ponds. We've all got our what we do. And it's not all kumbaya, we should all get along, but it does surprise me that, and this is, Rachel and I have mentioned it numerous times, it's like, it was half the reason we get in trouble is because we're like, we just like everybody. And apparently we still need friends. Yeah, apparently that's not okay.
Yeah.
I think the federations competing, it's inevitable. Because as you said, there's only so many athletes. But I think federations behaving like enemies, I don't think that has to be. You've all got friendly competition. It's like you've all got what you do well. So it's like I really don't see why this hostility needs to exist. And I think the people that are responsible for it, and it's not necessarily doesn't always come from the top, but I think the people that are responsible for this level of hostility need to pull their frickin' heads in and just stop it. Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of the culture actually comes from the athletes, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of believe whatever they're told.
Yeah, and unless you've been to an ICN show or you've been to any other federation show, you don't really know, do you?
Trust me, people, there is a big difference from one federation to another. And that's not just from the major ones. It's like, every federation does things differently, and some of them do some things really, really well, and some things they don't do so well.
But also, it doesn't have to be versus, because it's different looks that you're after. Yeah. So, each federation has a different look that they aim for. So, if you are not aiming for that look, you don't have to compete with that federation. Go compete with the federation that's the one that aligns to you. It does. Each federation has their specialties.
Yeah. And I frequently say that to an athlete. It's like, pick your tribe, pick your vibe. It's like, pick your look. Like, if you don't have the look, I'm not necessarily going to say to an athlete, oh, you should. As say an official in a federation, I'm not necessarily going to say, oh, you should go and compete in X federation because that's more your look, because that's kind of implying that we don't want them, go down there. But I will say to an athlete that I'm coaching, is like, look, your physique is more in line with the judging criteria for A, B, and C. So what would be the point putting you into Y federation where they have a completely different look, a completely different conditioning, a completely different whatever, if you're just going to get crushed? It's like, where do you sit more comfortably? In each, you only have to look at all the federations, and they all do have different strengths and different looks for different classes. So it's find what's right for you.
Even if they're called the same thing, they're slightly different.
Absolutely, agree, 100%. Yeah. It's an athlete choice, isn't it? And you can't control that.
I don't make that
and you
choice
shouldn't try and control that. No.
I mean, there's been a few times I've gone,
It's
For the
like if
most
I
part,
was
it's
to
pretty-
try and enter like wellness, for example.
Yeah.
Don't laugh, Brenda.
Yeah. Yes. How long's the off season going to be, Rach?
You'd have to do just the glutes. The glutes part
Yeah.
would be probably.
You
Yeah.
just walk on stage back.
Yeah, but we can't show my legs. It's just the glutes. We've got to cover
No,
the
just
Yes,
the
legs.
glutes. Yeah.
lighting. It's all about lighting. All right, so moving on to... See, that wasn't so
Yeah.
bad. We didn't get too bad into politics there. See, I think we all
No.
escaped relatively unscathed.
Yeah.
But I reckon probably the single most emotionally charged part of bodybuilding is judging. And to be fair, that's not just an ICN thing. That's every federation in the world
knows
is
this from
criticized around
experience.
judging. Yeah. And judging controversy exists, right? Literally
Yeah.
every federation on earth, nobody escapes it.
Yeah.
Now, fairly or unfairly, ICN has frequently at times been criticised for inconsistent judging standards. And some athletes, particularly the more competitive or elite level athletes, have said that's discouraged them from considering the federation seriously. What's your response to that criticism? Is it fair? Is it...
I think well, of course, you can't always say we're perfect. So, yeah, I guess it probably is fair criticism and over the years. But I think I would like them to have maybe come and discussed it with me and said, hey, I feel this way because I've not had any top level elite athletes that I'm aware of come to me and say that. But it would have been good to have a discussion with them about that. And I guess the thing that we're up against about inconsistent standards is you can only judge who's standing on the stage in front of you on that day. So if one time we have a lineup of bikini girls and there are all-rounded, for example, maybe not as conditioned, and then the next time we have a show, all the girls are conditioned and they've got a little bit of definition in the upper back and shoulder caps and so on, the look that we reward is going to be different because we can only choose from who's standing in front of us. I guess the sort of inconsistent label or accusation is actually quite hard to... I guess I want to jump to my judge's defence there a little because you can only judge what's in front of you, and
also photos show things differently sometimes.
Yeah, photos are not always like you can get the best photo. Rob's photos are amazing, and he will adjust them and edit them and stuff, and what you see in a photo from Rob might not necessarily be what was sent on stage.
Yeah, social media has probably made judging criticism worse because every result's dissected online by people who weren't even in the room, and different things show up. But federations, I think, are reluctant sometimes to evolve judging standards because they're a little bit worried about the backlash. And as you said, you can only judge what's in front of you. And unfortunately, you can't turn around and say, I'm sorry, ladies, but none of you's winning because none of you meet the criteria. So thanks for coming and everybody go home.
Yeah, imagine that.
Could you imagine that? It would be like, wow, that was ballsy. And everybody would be like, well, I'm never competing for them.
Well, you know what, though? I do take on board that our judging is, no judges are perfect. No judging at every show is always 100% perfect. And that's why we need to be evolving and training and talking to our judges and having discussions. And that's a path that I've gone down recently.
I was just about to ask you that question. And what are you doing about that?
Yeah. So we always, as a judging panel, will have discussions about different criteria, and I will go back to them and ask them questions about why they placed people where they did. If I feel that it wasn't, wasn't what I was expecting. So we have open discussions as a panel, but just recently as the weekend, we had some judging training, which was really, really valuable for the team. So it's gone from being a sort of an ad hoc training, I guess you call it, or ad hoc development, personal development as a team, to more structured, formal training.
Because judges aren't perfect. Sometimes mistakes can get made, like across any federation, any judging panel. Chris will admit that he has not always been perfect in the past with his judging as well. So
And why are we still picking on me?
because I'm being nice, not to you, just to Brenda. No, but look, I've said it in a previous podcast before where sometimes mistakes can happen. Like nobody's perfect. Like it happens sometimes, and that's just the nature of the sport. It's a subjective sport. So even then, like it is what it is as an athlete. Like you can tell the federation what you think, but then after that, it's like it's done. Get over it. Come back better.
Yeah, come back better. Take the feedback, move on.
Yeah, and I don't always agree with the people that the panel chooses, but that's the way it goes, isn't it? Like
it's the sport.
It's why you have a panel.
Yeah. That's why you have a panel.
And I think if it's important for athletes, if they do feel like they haven't been fairly treated or that they do come and talk to, preferably me, and I can provide them with feedback as to where they need to improve or what they could do differently.
And the training is really good for the judges too, like training them, like making sure they're consistently or not consistent, but upskilling and making sure they're hitting those standards of what the federation is wanting for each criteria.
Judging's a hard job. People think it's all, it's all fun. Oh, you're a judge. It's all glamorous and stuff. Yeah, I've judged all around the world, and there's nothing glamorous about flying into a hotel, going from the hotel to the venue, doing the check-ins, judging all day for 3 days, going back to the hotel, getting on a plane and going home. It's bloody exhausting.
I was looking at the schedule. Oh my God, it looks like a long day for the judges.
I'm not judging. I've only got to worry about 2 athletes. I
was looking at it and I was like, oh God, I feel sorry for them.
We've got so we've got 7 judges so that we can change them out so that they don't get strung out, hopefully.
A few substitutes.
Yeah, but something you and I have talked about, Chris, which I'm really keen to do more of, and I have in the past. I get all the judges' scores and I do a spreadsheet of where they place people, and I give them feedback based on that spreadsheet as to how they performed. But you and I have had discussion about taking that kind of to another sort of a higher level of scrutiny, which I really like. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having more discussions around that.
Sure, we'll have lots of discussions about that. So obviously you and I have been around for a while in the sport. When you compare the culture now, say, to when you were competing in the 80s and 90s, what worries you most about the sport of bodybuilding today?
I think it goes back to that social media thing again. It's like that whole, the amount of worth that our young people are putting into self-worth, that they're putting into social media and people's reactions to social media, and that extending to being judged by a bunch of people, a panel of judges, and how that can affect somebody's self-esteem or their perception of themselves. That does worry me.
Do you think that bodybuilders have become too comfortable with tearing people down publicly?
Yeah, I do. I like it. They don't tend to, even with the pros, you read the comments on some of the posts about the Mr. Olympia winner, and they're just like, would you say that to his face? Probably not.
Probably not, because he's about 350 pounds. It would kill me.
It's interesting, though, because there's a difference between constructive criticism and just like smashing at someone. Like, because if you say, oh, I thought they were too soft, like I thought this person should have won because this one was softer in this area, that's constructive. That I would say would be fine. That's like, this is the criteria, this is what we're marking against. But a lot of them are like, oh, you look like shit. And it's like, well, that's not really like...
It's not helpful.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I don't think athletes realise how damaging the environment has become.
And
that's led largely by the athletes, because everybody's an expert.
Yeah.
It's like, I have a friend of mine who's a very well-known rugby player, and at the highest level, the DMs that are on that person's social media about anything that person does, it's just, you're like, how do you cope with this? And bodybuilding is the same. It's like, everybody's an expert, everybody's got an opinion. But my argument to them is, shut up, go on a diet, get your ass on stage. And then we'll see what you got to say.
Yeah. And I think in a previous podcast, I'm pretty sure, that you guys were talking, and Rachel, you said something about your placing is not your worth. And so I do worry that people think that their self-worth is tied up in how they look on the day. At that point,
I always say, this isn't the sport for you.
Yeah. No, you have to be able to take the knocks, because it'll happen. I remember going all the way to Birmingham and competing at the Universe Champs with NABBA and coming dead last. And
somebody's got
hard. Yeah, somebody's got to. And that was really hard to come home and then go, well, I came last. But knowing that my self-worth isn't tied up in the fact that I came last. So I was still a good bodybuilder. I was still the best bodybuilder that New Zealand sent there on that occasion.
I frequently tell all my team is like, I do not care where you place. As long as when you get up there, you can say at that time, on that day, that was the best you could do. And if that's good enough to win, great. If it's not, so what? Are you happy? Because not everybody can win. Which I think is an interesting thing about to move along a little bit, is the one thing that's interesting right now is the evolution of the divisions across all federations. And honestly, I think if you look particularly at the new IFBB fit model division, a lot of people are saying that it actually really resembles the ICN bikini that they've been rewarding for years. While modern IFBB bikini arguably sits a lot closer, I guess you could say, to the ICN fitness model. Yeah. For years, federations have positioned themselves, as completely different, right? Different worlds. But really, are we actually starting to see the standards slowly come a little bit closer together? You're always going to have, obviously, the Olympia level, the Arnold level, that sort of stuff. That's a different ballgame, right? But we're talking enhanced athletes. Do you think there is a shift more of maybe coming towards more of a realistic look? That's why the tested federations are doing so much better, because people are looking at even the bikini athletes who are amazing athletes, but they're looking at them going, I can't do that. I'm never going to do that. So you think there's a little bit more maybe meshing of the looks across different federations?
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of alignment between, say, INBA, NABBA, and us in terms of the muscularity classes. And then, I do see the similarity between fit model and bikini. Yeah, so... Do
you think that's market driven, or that's
I think
just
it's
people
probably athlete driven in a way, because the athletes are kind of dictating to a certain extent what they want the look to be. So for example, with bikini, the criteria for ICN bikini has evolved over the last 5 years that I've been involved in it, from a very soft look to now having a bit more shape and a bit more harder look. And I think that's because the women have been coming in, and then gradually they've been going, I want to be a little bit harder, I want to be a little bit leaner, and
I want to look like a girl who lifts type stuff.
Yeah, and so that's what happens, and they come into the shows, and we have to again choose who we like, who we see in front of us, and that's kind of how it evolves. But so to a certain extent athlete driven, but I also think it's market driven too, because if you're thinking of attainable physiques for women especially, then the bar keeps moving, doesn't it? It goes up and up and up. And so therefore you have to have something that's going to attract the newbies to the sport.
It's like the introduction of wellness in ICN, last year for pro at least?
3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, because people wanted it, so it got brought in.
Yeah. Yeah,
and people like that look. So
and
it's
people
market
wanted it is market driven. People wanted swimsuits pro, so we did that too.
Love swimsuit.
Yeah, we love swimsuit too.
We love swimsuit. Yep. Here's a curly one for you. You mentioned the ICN Worldwide Pro League developing internationally and wanting New Zealand athletes to have a genuine professional opportunities at home. What does success for ICN New Zealand look like 5 years from now?
Oh, okay. I think that's pretty. So my vision of success would be to be still operating at the level that it is now, if not bigger. We're talking about looking at the running order for this weekend and going, do we need 2-day shows? Are we getting to that point? And we feel that we're pretty close to that. So if it did,
we did have a 2-day show last year.
Nationals last year, and if we develop,
we only go to 1 day though, Rachel. We only ever go to 1 day because we know if it's not sparkly, we're not there.
Yeah. So if we're looking into the future, I'd love the shows to be continuing and growing and even bigger than they are now. But I'd also really love it to have its own pro show that was just part of the circuit.
Yeah, so just every year we have the New Zealand Pro.
Yeah, and was seen as something to aim for. Like, I'm going to go to the New Zealand Pro show. I'm going to travel across the world and go to that show. Yeah,
I think that's a really good goal in the long term. I would say from the Pro League side, as in not pro league shit.
The pro ICN
inside. It's a tough one because there has to be a delineation between what's pro caliber and what's amateur caliber. And you and I have spoken about this where, like, we made the mistake with Rachel for the pro show. We dialed her conditioning down. We brought her in, not down, up, intentionally brought her in, with what we consider to be an improvement in the overall presentation, the overall look.
Yeah.
And the judging was judged on an amateur scale, not judged amateurly, but to an amateur standard.
Level
and I think
standard,
in order to drive the pros, it's like the pros have to have that step up. And then, and as you said, you've got to have how many pro shows really are there for ICN pros? There's not that many opportunities for them to actually compete. So how do you develop that? Do you make maybe pro as another division within a show, so it almost becomes a pro-am? And I know that's something that the OCB in the US does. It's frequently the shows have, as part of it, is a pro class. And I think I was talking with Sully yesterday, and he was saying that they have on average per class, per pro-am for pros, they have an average of 12 pros per class. So that's 12 pros per bikini, per pro. And they're now up to averaging, what did they say? I think they do like 250 shows in the States. I think they're averaging 92 athletes, amateurs per show. But the pros are slotted in. So you go novice, open, pro. So you are stepping up, I think. How do you create that competitive environment so that when you do your pro card, there is a progression for athletes like Rachel who can't really compete as an amateur anymore, but she still wants to compete well.
I could go do runway, thank you very much.
You are trying to kill me, aren't you? We got one dress to train for, Rachel. One dress this year. Come on.
I can wear that.
You could. Well, there's a new division, Brenda. Wedding gown.
Wedding gown. I dare you.
Don't encourage it.
It would have to be after, because then I get tan on it.
Yeah, it's true.
Diet and wear it to runway one day. Yeah, how do you do it? Yeah, and I guess for ICN, if we're at ICN New Zealand and we are very new, and that was our first ever pro show that we ran. And there's always learning, isn't there, when you run anything for the first time. So there's opportunities and the learning to be had from running that pro show. And I think you were saying about the standard of pro athlete, and I am always have been a bit of a stickler for only giving a pro card to somebody if I feel that they are pro level. And so some years I've given out, I think at Nationals 4, other years 3, some years 6. It just depends what they look like, what standard they are. The introduction of the PQ card is, I like it too, but again, I won't give it to somebody if I don't feel that they are at that level of almost at the level of being pro.
So they can stand in the lineup and not look out of place.
Yeah, and a PQ card can be used for a year. So you obviously, when I award someone a PQ card, I think that they have the potential to compete well as a pro. So they have a year within which to use that PQ card, so they could then train and develop so that when they do hit the pro stage, they're going to be in that top 3 and earn their pro card.
I think something that's worth noting there is also with the not giving people a pro card, sometimes if you win the overall, you don't necessarily win your pro card, which is not something that all federations do.
No, it's just if you win, you're in.
Yeah, so it's interesting because it's like, we could just you could just throw out pro cards and have lots of numbers for pros, and that because you could have just large numbers of pro lineups, but you choose not to maintain that standard.
I secretly snuck into a show a few years ago for an unnamed federation, and the person on stage literally was yelling, "Should we give this person a pro card?" And everybody's like, and literally it was like raining pro cards. It was like, anyway,
I know
that's their problem. All right, we're ready for Rachel's favorite part of the show now, Brenda. So no pressure. This is our rapid fire section, which kind of off the record, but not really because we're recording it. So
it's very on the record.
It's very on the record. And anything you say will not be held against you in a court of law.
Okay.
Will it?
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Well, could be. It's the first answer that comes to mind.
Okay.
So you
no thinking allowed.
First thing you say, no qualifying, no overthinking. And we're just going to throw a whole bunch of rapid fire questions for you. And I've given Rachel a rather substantial list. So I'm going to let her start this.
And I actually have it pulled up. He didn't expect me to actually have it.
No, I didn't. I was going to say her chat GPT summary has probably got back. Ask a question.
So, first question, what is the most overrated thing in bodybuilding?
I feel like I need a TikTok thing. Ding, 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 ding.
I'd say the refeed. The post-show Post-show feed is never as good as you think it's going to be.
Oh, as people going out for dinner, I'm like, no, just stay home and shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what is the most underrated on that note?
So, in bodybuilding competitions?
Or just in
Bodybuilding.
bodybuilding, so
bodybuilding.
it could be prep.
The most underrated. Oh, okay. The most underrated, I reckon, is the friendships that you form.
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah, actually, all my closest people are all bodybuilding people at this point. I don't know how to talk to normal people anymore.
What's the most common athlete delusion?
God, these are really hard. Most common athlete delusion. That they're more conditioned than they actually are.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
All
fair.
right. This is a leading question considering as Rachel and I have a posing business. What's more important? Conditioning or posing? Now, Rachel and I have different opinions.
I'd say it's posing. Because... oh, no, I don't have
Brenda,
to qualify
I
it,
was
do
counting
I?
you being on my side for that one.
I don't
Straight
have to
the heart.
qualify it, so... Hey, that's good.
Yeah. All right, Rachel, we'll give you that one.
Well, I actually thought you were going to ask who's the best posing coach in the country, and obviously the answer would be me.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
All right, wait, I've actually just lost my questions. What is the hardest division to judge?
Bikini.
Fair.
That's, yeah. Sometimes
And
you
then-
just want us to go, you pick.
Yeah.
Similar note, which division do you think athletes find the most confusing or get the most confused by?
Oh, and ICN probably men's
I was going to
men's
say, I
fitness,
haven't
women's
watched.
fitness.
They don't have sparkles.
They might as well. Their shorts are pretty short.
Yeah, they are.
Although, to be
And they're
fair,
pretty-
some of them don't look like they actually know what the poses are, because the last time I saw it, I think, was it Greg was like, no, you're not allowed to do that pose. And you could see them go, what? Let me read the rules.
People.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
let's see what we got. What is the most stressful part of running a federation?
For me, letting people down. Feeling like I'm letting people down. Yeah.
You and Chris have that in common.
Now, here's a good one. Who causes more problems, coaches or athletes?
Coaches.
Yeah, man, that's like, I'm getting it all over the place today. All right,
That
fine.
was an easy one. What do athletes complain about the most?
Of running over time.
But then they will also complain, I didn't get enough stage time.
Yeah.
Pick your poison, people.
Yeah, exactly. What's the most dramatic competitor behaviour you've witnessed?
On stage, you're talking about?
Yeah, in general.
On stage? Probably walking off, ripping off his medal and
always
throwing it
one.
down.
It's always one.
Yeah. There's always
And it's
one.
always a he.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, I distinctly remember a very well-known bikini athlete
Okay.
who said she'd never come second and wouldn't even take the medal. Wouldn't even let me put it on her. She was like, don't even dare. I was like, this is awkward.
Yeah.
Just place
What
it
am I
at the
going
feet.
to do? Yeah, I literally went, I'll just hold on to that. I'll get that to someone. All right, let's see. What have we got? Well, let's do one more each, Rachel. What do we got? Okay, who's your favourite bodybuilder of all time?
Corey Everson.
Ah, there you go. Woman after my own heart. Rachel's like,
Do you
"Who?"
know?
I'll send
No.
you a picture, Rachel. What? How
Only
many
the
Olympias did she
OG.
win? Like 6?
8? Is it 8?
6? 8? Well,
Sorry,
Linda Murray
probably a
was
little
8.
bit before my time.
Unbelievable.
Wait, where was I? What is the biggest mistake that first-time competitors make?
Don't practice their posing.
Yeah, well, we already know what you think's most important. We're not talking about that anymore.
I'm sorry, but it's just so much better to watch someone who at least knows how to pose, even if they're out of shape, than to watch someone who's in really good shape who doesn't know how to pose. It's really
yeah, but see,
awkward.
this only applies to the female classes because, as we all know, when we've all witnessed, the male classes don't practice the damn posing.
But if
it's
they
like-
did, it would be the same case.
How many requests have we had, Rachel, for male posing coaching?
Yeah, not many.
I'm going with the crickets in the room right now. Not
Yeah.
no offense, gentlemen, but you know, if you can't do a front double bicep, would you show up on stage? You got a problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you see, look, you survived that. There was nothing too incriminating, nothing too done, nothing too bad there. So hopefully, I just might double check that.
That was long.
Yeah, sorry, we
had lots
have-
more. We had
Are
lots
there
more.
more questions?
We actually
there was lots
had a
more.
few other things in there, but Chris is just an overachiever. So, to start to wrap things up, is there anything that you would wish we would have covered that you would like people to know?
I guess how
Sorry, difficult. Put you on the
I'm so
spot.
not good at this shit. What would I like people to know?
Hang on, swear jar for Brenda.
I think I'd like them to know that it's how you get involved in ICN would be quite good.
All right, how do we get involved in ICN, Brenda?
So you start by making a free membership on the portal, which is the International Members Portal. Just go to www.icompetenatural.com and create yourself a free profile. That gets you into an email chain, which we always love, emails.
You didn't unsubscribe me from that.
And that will give you email updates on everything that goes on in ICN around the world, and also locally as well. You know, when shows are coming up, that kind of thing. So that's a really good way to start with us. Apart from better way, actually, is to come to a show, but you can't come this Saturday because we're sold out.
You're not invited anymore.
Unless you want to go this weekend, because yeah.
I believe it sold out during our live stream, which is just crazy. So that's pretty awesome.
That was cool. That's
but
really
yeah,
awesome.
no, it's going to be a full house. So come to South Island Champs, which is the next show, I think.
Yeah.
Or is it North Island?
No, Palmerston North.
Sorry, North. Yeah, Palmerston North. Come to that one.
Hometown.
I think Palmerston North's turning into the capital of New Zealand bodybuilding, and you've got
I know.
INBA's got a show there, ICN's got a show there, Shane's got the IFBB show there. It's just like, do all roads lead to Palmerston North? I'm not really sure why, but it seems to be happening.
But if you think about it, like, there's NABBA, was the home of NABBA. Jim and Marianne live here. We live here. Shane lives here. Yeah, it is like a little bodybuilding hub.
I know. It's like Palmerston North. Who knew? It's like, I mean, I think one thing this conversation really highlights is that bodybuilding is far more complicated behind the scenes than most athletes probably realize. And, you know, because it's easy online to reduce federations down to logos, politics, opinions, especially as we said, social media, which is for a lot of negative stuff. And I really wanted to thank you we put you on the spot with some of these things today. And I really want to thank you for being as open and honest as you have been. And I'll be honest, coming from the other side of the equation, historically, people were probably expecting this conversation would be a little bit more hostile than it has been. But I actually think that hopefully what's become obvious in this conversation is that most people in bodybuilding ultimately want similar things. Better athletes, better shows, better experiences, and to a large extent, a healthier sport.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that, Rachel?
If you want an awesome show experience, come to ICN. I just genuinely really loved the show experience, like, and even like being in the audience, like the audience is generally really great. Like you don't get the crickets, like people are cheering generally, like it's usually pretty good vibes. So yeah, no, that's honestly, like, I promise I'm not doing false hype here. I'm not even doing this just because Brenda's here. I just genuinely think that the shows are run really, really well, and I just appreciate it a lot. So thank you also for your time today, Brenda. Like, because obviously we've taken up quite a bit of your time today. We like to chat.
Yeah.
Nobody could ever accuse us of not having a good yarn there, Rachel.
Yeah, no, that's great.
If you could leave athletes in particular who are obviously looking at making their choice about which federation that they want to pursue from a competitive perspective, if you could leave them with one message today, what would it be? God, I sound like that guy from the 60 Minutes in the US. Tell us, what would it be? It's very emotionally and deep of me right there.
It would be look around, experience different federations, go to different shows, talk to people about what federations are like, but ultimately choose your federation because of the categories that you fit into. Don't try and make yourself fit into a category because you think it's the best federation. Yeah, that would be my advice. And after that, come and do ICN.
ICN.
No, just
joking partially.
Yeah, no, it's got to be the right fit for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, genuinely, thank you very much for being willing to have this conversation. As I said, a lot of people will be surprised that this is what we're recording today. We haven't announced it to anybody, so they won't find out until Monday morning. Which, by the time they find out, we should be then getting ready to say, so what did you do this weekend, Rachel? Well, I was at the ICN show in Taupo, and this is what we saw. Which I can guarantee everybody will have a little bit more coverage in a couple of other shows we won't talk about. But thank you very much for being willing to do this with us today. We do appreciate your time.
And especially 1 week out from a show.
1 week out from a show, yeah. I know you've got a lot of work to do the next couple of days.
Yeah.
But again, thank you everybody for joining us today on this week on the Macro Lounge. If you did enjoy today's episode, and even if you didn't, just make sure you like and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube, because it does actually help other people find this lovely amount of diatribe that Rachel and I managed to come up with every week. So again, we thank you for your time. Enjoy your cardio, and those of you who did compete, what will be this weekend past in the ICN Great Lakes Classic, it was great to see you all there. And for those of you who didn't, sign up for the why not get your airline tickets and your bus tickets and head down to Palmerston North, the hub, apparently the central hub of all things bodybuilding in New Zealand. Brenda will be there, and you can come and say hi. So again, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Anything in closing, ladies?
Just like to say thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about my passion and my little baby, which hopefully won't be, it's not so little anymore, hopefully growing as we go. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We will see you on Friday. And
yes, safe travels.
I look forward to seeing you all on the weekend I have already seen you if you're listening now. And well done to all the competitors who competed over the weekend if we're speaking in past tense, because we're now in the future. Enjoy your day, everybody!